The 5 Laws on the Eternity of Life. Xiefeng. November 13, 2005. Dr. Christopher Langton, the principal researcher at Los Alamos National Life Laboratory in the United States, said, "Life's essence lies not in its specific substance, but in its form." This means that life's essence has nothing to do with material, and it is just a form, a structure without material and a sign invisible to our naked eyes. Genes, the building blocks of life, seen as the human genome with scientific instruments, is actually not life's essence, but only the expression of a sealed book of life. This is why people can make spaceships, but not even make an ant. It is not completely right to say that the essence of life lies in its form, because its form is just a rigid structure, but life itself is movable with spirituality and consciousness. Therefore, a life is a non-material structure with spirituality. At present, we must understand how these non-material structures with spirituality come into being and how they are born. If lives are material structures, then all the things produced by people such as bicycles, clothes, desks, toothbrushes, pencils, and so on are also lives. Obviously, lives are absolutely not material structures, but non-material structures, and therefore only those who understand the whole of non-material world can create them. For humans, creating the non-material structure is the hardest nut to crack, but for those who understand the non-material world, it is just a piece of cake. The problem is that life cannot be spiritual with only non-material structures, because they must possess spirituality. However, where can we get the spirituality? For the masses, this is an easy question to answer. They will say, it comes naturally, or it originates from evolution. If you ask further, what is nature and how can it come naturally? Life is a non-material structure with spirituality, but how do they evolve by themselves? Those people, with shaking heads and angry eyes, would say, naturally means naturally, and evolution means to evolve step by step. If you go on further, they will become very impatient and say that we are taking unnecessary pains to study an insoluble question. You can visit http://www.lifechanyuan.com to search and browse my critical articles about the theory of evolution. Now, we have to ask the questions: what is the universe and why does it exist? In time and space of the universe, we learned that the universe exists as order and remains relatively stable with the total sum of negative and positive energy always equaling 0. What is this order used for? If we ask what political order is for, what is the purpose of the legal and administrative order established by people, the answer must be that it is a social order established with the aim of serving mankind. Then, what is the order of the universe used for? I have discussed this very clearly in different sections of Chanyuan corpus and Xiefeng corpus. The universe is designed to serve life. If either perishes, then so will the other. Therefore, as long as the universe exists, life will continue. This is a basic law. Actually though, the thing that concerns us is not the survival or extinction of the macroscopic life of the whole universe, but that of our individual lives. In other words, what we really care about is, am I going to die forever? This involves such problems as the structure of the universe, the balance of life, the morality of the universe, and others, so I have written some simple discussions about symmetry in nature, mysterious and great power, and the golden mean, perfect proportion. We know that the core of order is symmetry, the universe is orderly, so the universe is symmetrical, and the Taiji diagram is a vivid simile for this. We also understand that the universe is holographic, that one cell can reflect all styles and features. Therefore, we come to the conclusion that life is symmetrical. This symmetry is not only reflected in that of certain individual lives, but in all lives in the universe. From 36-dimensional space, we can see that the zero world, heaven world, Elysium world, cathode black hole body, the 10,000-year world, and the 1,000-year world are symmetric to the inflamed layer, frozen layer, hell world, plant world, animal world, and livestock world. The mortal world is at the exact interface of these two symmetrical worlds. In this way, the symmetry of the whole universal lives is formed, namely the simplified overall structure of life, heaven, the mortal world, and hell. The universe has universal morality. Once it is reflected in any individual life, it represents the evolution of that life, its transmigration and reincarnation. For example, if a person's consciousness and thinking resonates on the same frequency as the morality of the universe, then their life can evolve toward heaven, the 1,000-year world, 10,000-year world, and the Elysium world. Otherwise their life will evolve toward hell, the hell world, inflamed layer, or the frozen layer. Of course, this is just a general version. For a specific individual life, the evolution of life is much more complex. Why is life allowed to evolve? The answer is to maintain the morality of the universe and the dynamic balance of the whole of life. When the amount of any kind of life becomes too large within a limited space, it will have breached its symmetry, that is, it will have exceeded its limit. Similarly, if the amount of a certain kind of life is too small, it will also have breached its symmetry. This is just as with an industrial corporation with hundreds of employees, only one general manager is wanted, and a few division managers, a maximum of 50 sales and logistics personnel, and the highest number of employees should work on the front line. If there are 1 or 90 on the front line, more than 90 sales or logistical personnel, or more than 50 division managers, this corporation is certain to fail. In order to ensure the normal survival and development of any corporation, its allocation of personnel has to be symmetrical. Certainly, this symmetry focuses mainly on the energy aspect rather than the quantity. The symmetry must be movable and flexible, not rigid and stiff. This is like the Earth's allocation of water. Seas and oceans account for the vast majority at 97.24%, glaciers and icebergs are 2.14%, underground tunnels are 0.61%, and rivers and lakes are only 0.0001%. However, all this water has to keep on flowing and cycling through meteorological changes and the Earth movements. To maintain a dynamic balance, or life could not survive here. The total amount of life's allocations in the universe is also like this. The amount of flora and fauna should be absolutely abundant, that of humans has to be moderate, the amount in hell is in no way smaller than the number of humans in the mortal world, and the amount in paradise has to be absolutely small. This certainly does not reflect a symmetry of quantity, but rather one of energy. It does not matter if there are a lot of ordinary people, but it does matter when there are too many kings. As a man sows, so he shall reap. Reap what one sows. Dispensing reward and punishment impartially and being meticulous are laws to safeguard the life dynamic balance and reflect the morality of the universe. Without this restriction of universe morality, the universe will be out of order, and life will perish. The morality of the universe will not change according to the will of life. It is a law which hides in structural symmetry. As long as the universe exists, then too does its morality, and as long as it does, life will remain imperishable. This is another law of the eternity of life. Now, let us look at the quantity of life in the universe. In the introduction, I talked about the birth or origin of life. In The Greatest Creator, I described the origin of the greatest creator and the universe. In Humanity and Life, I also spoke of the origin of human beings and life. Now, I want to ask you whether life's quantity in the universe is overall, static or dynamic. To be more specific, is the population of humans on the Earth constant or variable? If we look at the size of the Earth's population, we see that it is not constant, but undeniably variable. There were about 6 billion people on the Earth 20 years ago, but more than 7 2/3 billion now. This proves that the human population varies, which seems to indicate that the amount of life varies. However, when we understand the structures of the cosmic spaces, the essence of life, the law of symmetry and balance of the cosmic lives, we find that the total amount of life in the whole universe does not vary, but remains constant. This so-called variability is due to the transmigration and reincarnation of various kinds of life beings in the universe. People who do not know about oceans and icebergs certainly think that river water must vary seasonally when they see that it decreases in winter but increases in summer. However, people who understand about oceans, icebergs, glaciers, and weather changes understand that the total amount of water on the Earth is constant and never varies. The river with less water in winter does not tell us that the total amount of water on the Earth has decreased, nor does its increase in summer and autumn mean that the extra water comes from nowhere. It happens because water is brought from other places by the movement of the Earth and the changes of the weather. Things decrease in some places but increase in others. things with one nature increase as those with another decrease. The universe as a whole is constant, what changes is its form. The total amount of energy is constant whether the universe is expanding or shrinking, otherwise the law of the conservation of matter that we learned as young children would be violated. Once we understand that the universe is constant and that the total amount of water on the earth is also constant, we will know that the total amount of life in the universe is also constant. The so-called change is a change of life's form or expression, but not a change of its quantity. There are those who might ask where all the extra people on the earth have come from. Those extra people have transmigrated and reincarnated from heaven, hell, animals, and plants. Have you not noticed that while the human population has increased, animal populations have decreased? The lost animals have morphed into humans. This is unimaginable. How can it be? Is this not far-fetched nonsense?